Democrats who are fighting desperately to save democracy. Are you laughing, Charlie?
It's very hard to keep that in.
Like I was trying to say, the most important thing is that everyone has a vote and they can choose who they want to vote for, right? I mean, not RFK Jr., of course. Like, you don't get a vote for him. You know, not as a Democrat, because Biden's the incumbent, and Biden's going to be president for the Democrats. And then when he wasn't, they just named Kamala because, you know, democracy. The Democrat National Committee filed a complaint Wednesday seeking to remove the Green Party's presidential candidate from the ballot in Wisconsin. Then there's Cornel West. West is now off the ballot in Pennsylvania in the name of preserving democracy. The DNC also sued to challenge that he can't be on in Wisconsin either. 3 candidates the DNC has been fighting to keep off of ballots in at least 2 different states. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the 3rd most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
The Bean Dipper. There's the Little Dipper, there's the Big Dipper, and there's the Bean Dipper. All right, so this election season is a fun one. I'll admit that I like the sport of politic, you know? And so, like, when it's presidential election season... it's just fun, you know. This one, of course, has been great. We've had a coup already, an assassination attempt. I mean, it's been a well-written season. So it just keeps getting crazier. So last week we started talking about all the joy of the Harris campaign. And did you? Oh, actually, I know you did. You were messaging me about it. Some of the other speeches throughout the DNC.
Oh yes! Wow.
So how many? Admittedly, I couldn't make myself watch all of them, or even most of them, but I checked out clips and all that. So how often did you hear about Joy after we spoke about it?
Everybody made sure to say it at least once or 1,000 times.
Hell yeah. You know what?
In somebody's poetry. And that's when I zoned out, is when the poetry came up.
There's poetry?
Somebody was reading some, like... It sounded like spoken word, I guess.
Well...
I don't know. It was, yeah, she did a poem. She's very, I mean, the word she used, she's very well written. Just maybe reapply it. I don't know.
Joy. Did you see Jon Stewart's? Oh, I should have pulled it up. But he was like, DNC, they had the guy, you know, railing against billionaires and saying they got to stop the billionaires, followed directly by a very happy billionaire. It's like they had someone that was speaking out against sexual assault, followed by, and then it showed Bill Clinton. But he had it's like a 5 or 6 minute rant. It's good. I probably shouldn't have brought it up brought it into this anyway, because it's solid. You gotta listen to the whole thing. But yeah, look it up. It's he does a once a week daily show for.
Yeah, I heard he was coming back. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just for the election. Then he's getting back out, but it's like he does it once a week, and but it was pretty funny. He he's obviously still voting Democrat. He's still for it, but he gave a nice telling. I don't know if it's a rebuke, but good criticism, funny criticism. But one of the other things that I heard, another criticism I heard about it, that after I heard this, I couldn't stop noticing it. People were talking about how it seems like the DNC was trying to message to Republicans more than Democrats. Like, it was a very moderating kind of tone. There was things about law and order, because she's a prosecutor, or she was a prosecutor, and which is how she locked up the innocent people. And then, and of course, Walz was not good at law and order and that whole letting Minneapolis burn to the ground thing. But there's that. There's a lot of military stuff, a lot of rah-rah. I think Tucker Carlson called it a neocon moment. And so there's military. There was middle class tax cuts they talked about. And like, which is amazing to me that like I haven't seen much about, Kamala said the no tax on tips things, and I'm happy both candidates say no tax on tips, but like I haven't seen anybody mention that like Trump said that a month or two ago. I think it was in July. I think it was when I was in Utah, so like a solid month ago, and like no one's like, hey, he had that first. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so other things like that where they go, this is a very weird, like they didn't, they're not talking about, LGBTQ issues. They're not talking about Palestine. They're not talking about, defunding the police. They're not talking about like any of the they're not talking about, Green New Deal type stuff. They were keeping it very moderate and, try and get all, AOC still tried to get fiery. She had a new accent. Seems like that's another theme of this thing. Kamala developed her Southern accent earlier. She was kind of doing the black church thing, where you kind of got to get your slang on, but she accidentally went too far into her fake slang voice and went Southern with it. And so AOC kind of did the same thing. Well, she's bouncing and talking. Anyway.
Did you notice all the skin tones?
You mean how there was like one predominant skin tone?
Yeah. And they're not normally that skin tone?
I did. It seemed like they all wanted to match. That was Shapiro out of Pennsylvania. Yeah. I posted on the Twitters there. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, when did he get like cappuccino silky smooth? It was like Obama speaks and now Shapiro, and it's like, whoa, hey now. It was clearly a spray tan. It's not orange, but it was as fake of a skin tone as orange would be.
Nearly glistening up there.
he was glistening and spectacular. He goes, listen, I might not be the VP this time around, but watch me shine.
That guy could speak his way to being president.
Well, and that's what I was saying earlier about why he would not be the VP. It's because if you're that guy who is in Pennsylvania, who's very popular, he plays well with the left of the Democrats. He plays well with the moderates of the Democrats. And why would you want to saddle up to this ship when if she loses next time? I mean, if betting money right now, I mean, Newsom, Whitmer, whoever else, even Andy Beshear in Kentucky, like he could say, well, I was, purple state governor, which I guess Pennsylvania's kind of the same. But I don't, Andy Beshear, and he won re-election in Kentucky, which, Kentucky, I would think is more red than
yeah.
I mean, it is pretty red. So I guess that gives you a feather in your cap. But I think it's more of the powers of being an incumbent than anything else. And like the first time around, he ran against, I forget who, but someone just deeply unpopular to the point that I think there was a third challenger, or maybe that was just right at the end of the RNC convention. But, there was a Republican that no one was happy about on the Republican side of stuff. But then you're an incumbent, and it's like, okay. But no, like Shapiro, that's where my money's at, and he can talk. Oops, excuse me. So we'll just see. Maybe I saw some hits coming out about him when everyone thought he was the surefire thing, but I can't remember where they are now. I don't think it's anything of great consequence, but well, we'll see. We'll find out in 4 years. Until then, he'll
get on Bovada now.
Yeah, because that's. Oh yeah. I wonder if I can. Well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what do you use to bet on that?
I mean, I've used Bovada. I mean, I don't know if you could do it this early, but
yeah,
it'll come out early.
Yeah, my sports book, they're not the best with the political bets. It takes them a while to get stuff out there, but I mean, it's worth it. I mean, he could definitely DeSantis the whole thing and screw it up once he gets to the big stage. But we'll find out. So anyway, our fine analysis proved to continue and be ageless. They were very joyous. And for that joy, they got exactly a 0-point bump. So they didn't get a bump. But Kamala jumping in, a month ago or whatever, a couple weeks ago. She got a bump then. That's pretty much the same thing, you know. It's new and shiny. Now, one thing that did happen when it switched from Biden to Kamala is numbers got a lot weaker for RFK Jr. Now, that's probably to be expected. I mean, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, when they were running against the Trump-Clinton time, they were polling at like 11 or 13%, 15%, something like that. But as we got closer to Election Day, that sort of fell apart. And, you know, part of it could have been because of Gary Johnson's faux pas when he didn't know, what was it? What was he asked about, Aleppo or something? And he's like, "What's that?" You know, as opposed to like, in what? I mean, it was a takeout. It was a question to take him out because he was pulling more from the Democrats than the Republicans at that time. But I think even without that, just the nature of people being talked into, well, lesser of two evils, to stop that person, you know, it tends to wane. So, you know, RFK Jr., I mean, he still has like a passionate base, you know, but he's really only pulling about 5%, something like that. Now, if you look at how some of these states went in all these swing states, you know, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, you know, 5 points is more than enough to either make it a spanking or make it, you know, or flip it, you know. And so, to keep everything exciting, one of the big things that happened, of course, this week, we pop over here, is RFK Jr. decided to suspend his presidential bid and formally endorse Donald Trump, and then appeared with him at a rally. So, let's see. What was the date on this? August 23rd, or that's when it was updated. But anyway. So he suspended his independent campaign for the White House and endorsed Donald Trump on Friday, a late-stage shakeup of the race that could give the former president a modest boost from Kennedy's supporters. Hours later, Kennedy joined Trump on stage at an Arizona rally where the crowd burst into "Bobby!" cheers. Bobby? Damn it, Bobby. Let's see. Kennedy said his internal polls had shown that his presence in the race would hurt Trump and help the Democratic nominee Kamala Harris, though recent polls don't provide a clear indication that he is having an outsized impact on support for either major party candidate. Well, I mean, he's getting 5 points, you know, and like there's still the Green Party, there's still Cornel West, and there's still the Libertarian. And so, like, you know, there's still other cats out there. And there's some places where Chase Oliver was polling ahead of Kennedy. So, you know, but Kennedy's, you know, he's a Kennedy. He's got name recognition. And he's got access to cash. Let's see. So, all right, let's hop to this video on this next tab. And here, he was on the Glenn Beck radio show, and he was asked about why you jumped too far. Oh, or my stuff's out of order. That's right here. So he was asked about why he endorsed him and all that kind of crud. So, yeah. Put your ears in. Okay. So from the program, Glenn Beck.
What scares you about the Kamala Harris victory that would move you to endorse Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, our polling from the beginning was saying that we were hurting Donald Trump much more than we hurt the Democrats. So our polling consistently showed that about 57% to 60% of our voters would vote for Trump if I left. And so it was odd that President Trump and the Republican Party never really attacked me. And, you know, it was not trying to keep me off the ballots. They weren't deploying, you know, private investigators to dig up every piece of dirt
so the DNC was attacking him, even though he would technically have helped the Democrats.
This entire organization that was designed to destroy me, to character assassinate me, and to keep me off the ballot. But it was ironic because I actually hurt the Trump organization. I hurt the Republican Party much more.
Some better points here.
When it became clear to me that I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage. And the mainstream media had successfully stonewalled me. So, I gave 2 live interviews on the major networks in 16 months. Ross
Did a lot of
Perot had
podcasts, huh?
34 interviews in 10 months. I only had 2 live interviews on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN.
Etc.
And so I was being stonewalled there. I was not going to be allowed on the debating stage.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was my path to victory. I could not talk to most Americans. So it became clear to me
It would have been
that
fun watching
we
him
did
debate.
not have a clear path to the White House. And that if I stayed in the race, that the likelihood was that my presence in the race would get the Vice President Harris elected. Vice President Harris, for me, and if you looked at her speech during the Democratic convention, it was a deep state speech. She was preceded weirdly by CIA officials who were speaking at the election.
Kennedys love the CIA.
Military officials, and it was a neocon speech.
Well, maybe it was
That
him
was
that
about
called, yeah.
more wars and more wars and more wars, and that is the only policy she's really defined herself as.
Right.
And I think we're so close to World War III right now. We're so close to nuclear exchange with the Russians. And then the Trump administration, President Trump reached out to me immediately after his shooting. And we began talking. We had a series of meetings by telephone and in person in Minneapolis and in Mar-a-Lago. And talked about the things that surprised me that we had in common, that he wants to end the Ukraine war immediately. He wants to protect children's health. He wants to end the censorship. And those are the 3 principal reasons that I got in the race.
All right. So, man, he really takes his time getting to a point. That might be another reason he didn't get too many interviews. He really chews the scenery. But, so he said, a couple of things. One, on the principle side of stuff, like his main things are in these endless wars. Children's health, the not forcing shots, the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, not forcing vaccines on people, having informed consent, and the censorship deal. So he said those are his big things coming into it. And Trump's got a path, he doesn't have a path. So that was his logic for why he got in behind him. But then also, as far as a character thing, he's like, it's funny because you see these 2 sides, and like the side that I hurt, the most is not going after me, and the side that theoretically I'd be helping by hurting the other side, not only did they stop me from actually being a primary challenger for Biden, and then I had to leave the party, but then after that, they're digging up dirt on me, they're running stuff against me, and they're treating me like the enemy, even though theoretically you should be happy I'm around. So he showed up and he formally endorsed Trump there. What are your thoughts on old boy?
Interesting. I thought I heard that he also reached out to the other side as well and probably got denied. But
I saw that heading into it, that he was shopping his support around, which is what you do. And to be fair, like in that situation when you are bowing out and trying to leverage what you can do, part of it is just like, hey, these are my numbers, and I guess if you're hurting Trump more, it helps him more for you to get out. But a lot of times you're looking for concession, like, I will throw my support behind you if you back this cause, like this is something that's very important to me. So if you'll make, this part of your thing, like the Libertarian Party, to a degree, did this for having him speak at the convention, saying, you can make a pitch to our base. Will you guarantee that you'll free Ross Ulbricht and pardon him? And so he's like, yeah. And so that, and I don't know if they got the whole Department of Education thing going or if that was Vivek, but either way, like coming out, and saying he'll put a libertarian in the cabinet. So it's like, put a libertarian in the cabinet, he shut down the Department of Education, which was great. And then, free Ross. And so, that was as a party a way that they kind of tried to leverage a position to get things going. Which when you're a party that doesn't have a real path, you know, I mean, like, go Libertarian Party and all that kind of stuff, and you should vote it, but until we get like ranked choice voting, so people aren't so scared, like, as they're still doing this like lesser of two evil thing and deciding to vote for evil, you know, that it will take some sort of special lightning in a bottle to kind of get us there. So anyway, you try to accomplish what you can accomplish, and I think, you know, if he gets elected and he does shut down the Department of Education, I mean, that alone, I'm happy. Free Ross, super happy, you know? And then if he puts like a legitimate libertarian in there, which I think he's going to put like kind of a Cato, you know, libertarian, because he mentioned some people in his speech. And I think, you know, he doesn't have a firm grasp on what libertarian is, you know? But anyway, but those would all be cool things, you know? So RFK, he's like, give me a commitment on the war. And then like, he's got some health and environmental things that he wants to see addressed. Did you watch the Theo Von interview with Trump? Mm-mm. Oh, it's stuff.
Oh, a little with the the certain clips I did.
Did you see the cocaine owl thing?
That's great.
Oh yeah, homie, you'll be like an owl on your front porch. It was funny. It's good. Apparently Dana White helped set that up, and I guess Barron Trump listens to old Theo Von.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean it was good for Trump. He showed a very calm, empathetic side, you know, because they talked a lot about the addiction thing, and like for Trump, he's never drank or smoked, and outside of perhaps an addiction to, I don't know, maybe Sudafed or Adderall or something, or McDonald's. You know, he just hasn't really had that kind of thing. So it was interesting him asking questions. But yeah, he's like, cocaine, and that's powerful up, right? And like, oh yeah, homie. Which is great. Theo Von calling him homie. But anyway, one thing that he was talking about, because, you know, he's Theo Von's friends with old Bobby, and so they were talking about the regulatory stuff, whether FDA or environmental crud, but just the way that you go and you are a regulator for the, you know, in this industry, and then you decide to pass some sort of regulation that is favorable, and next thing you know, you're working for that company that it favored. And then maybe you hop back over and you pass more regulation. You hop back over and get your paycheck. You know, maybe you're a lobbyist at a little point. So you just, you know, you kind of do this thing.
Pfizer CEO.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, Pfizer. Yeah, Pfizer's a great example. All of the major pharmaceuticals do it. But even on like the USDA side of things, I mean, there's a huge chunk of funding for like USDA programs that come from like Coca-Cola and stuff. And it's just like, well, like another major food manufacturers. And it's like, all right, so it's the exact same thing, but on the food side. And that's why there's so much crappy food. I actually saw this interview. I forget, they're a brother-sister duo that wrote this book. She was in the end of her residency to be an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And she just threw the whole thing. And she was at Stanford, you know. And she was like, you know, it's like, this is nuts. We don't talk about the causes of ailments. We just talk about what pills to give. And then the brother was a lobbyist in D.C. working for, you know, all the different people you work for. And so they both kind of stopped what they were doing. And then they kind of started on this like health path. It was like, I think their mother dying of like a pancreatic cancer or something like that spurred it. But they were talking about how tobacco companies, Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds, they did major food company purchases in the
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, in like the 90s or the 80s or something like that. And they started like they took their cigarette lobbyists, they switched them over to food lobbyists, and then same with the scientists. And so like some of these things, like the high fructose corn syrup, like some of these foods are literally designed to make it so you don't feel satiated. It's like, oh, and like some of it, like the high fructose corn syrup, is sending your body signals, kind of like when a bear's eating berries to hibernate, where it goes, I have to just shove as much of this in my face to make as much fat as possible for the winter, you know? And so it's doing the same thing to our brains, but we don't have to hibernate, you know? But anyway, so on the same thing, like it's a little grosser over there because people aren't even looking at it. They're saying like 10% of a kid's diet should be added sugar. I mean, that's...
I've read about the chip companies doing that. They put a chemical in there to make your stomach feel empty, so that's why you eat a whole bag of chips.
Yeah, well, that's... Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's like I think it's a hormone suppressor or something like that. There's something, yeah. It just sends a signal or blocks a signal, so you just go, give me more. Which is, like, I used to think the food thing was more of just basic cost, like a mix of trying to keep costs down by, you know, like preservatives and all that kind of stuff. So you want it to last a long time, maintain the flavor for a long time, so you can store it, make it in huge scale, keep it cheap, sell it cheap. But it was just like sort of normal. Like, yeah, you wanted sugar in there and salt
Just
in there.
efficiencies. And
Yeah, and like the sugar and salt thing is because people love sugar and salt and it tickles the brain. And like, it's a, but that's what I just thought. It's like, yeah, well, people love it. I mean, like, you know, nacho cheese Doritos are delicious. Kamala Harris says so. But like now I'm leaning back towards maybe they are just as evil as, you know, these other things.
Probably looking at the data being like, how can we get these higher?
Yeah, well, and now they're trying to push the Ozempic. They want it to be approved starting at 6 years old. I think it's approved at like 10 or 12 or something now.
Why?
Because obesity is a scourge and a major health issue. Charlie.
So a 10-year-old could not, well, yeah, for diabetes, right?
Well, diabetes is what it was made for, but if you're like morbidly obese, well, that puts strain on your heart, that puts strain on your joints, that puts strain on this and that and the other, and therefore it'd be just right to treat it with a weekly injection.
And it was at 10 and now it's at 6?
I think it was at like 10 or 12 or something like that, but it's not at 6 yet, but they're pushing for it. And the other thing is, they're pushing for it to get 6, and remember the South Park, the Ozempic for the rich and Lizzo for the poor? They want to get rid of that problem. They don't want Lizzo for the poor. They want Zempies for the poor. And so they want it to be in Medicare. And if it's in Medicare, then like the 60% of the obese children in this country, like 60% of the kids are obese, they can get it from Medicare, means full price payer, and start them at 6 years old, a weekly injection, possibly for their entire life.
If they make it that long.
And yeah, for real. And that would, if Ozempic gets added to Medicare, it will more than surpass our defense spending. Like our total, like, metabolic disease treatment bill. You know, basically stuff that could be solved by eating right and exercising. Eating just kind of right.
I don't even have words.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so you got the drug people and the food people, and sometimes they're the same company, and they all hop into government, hop all around, and next thing you know, they're regulating, you know, soda into the world, into the health food.
You know what? They might justify it because I've been hearing stories about all the black market Ozempic, and that's becoming a problem. They may use that as a reason to go, yeah, we need to do this.
The black market? Oh, like underground?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ozempic,
okay.
That's just garbage. It's not Ozempic.
Oh.
It's Fozempic.
Nice. I wonder how much of it is, or I wonder if, is it all semaglutide, or is it just stuff that's just nothing?
I have no idea. They're just saying like the black market's exploding with it, and so they may use that as a
because like
to hold on to
compounding pharmacies, which is what the boys of South Park did. You know, you can order semaglutide by the vat, and like make your own.
Maybe that's what it is.
Non-branded version, because there's other is it Sima or semi-glutide? Anyway, but there's other brands other than Ozempic. But I guess you can kind of make it unless they regulate that away, which I think they're trying to do, because, you know, why get it at discounts? But anyway, so like all that to say, like, so Theo Von was talking about that, little Tucker Carlson on that show. They're kind of talking about it, but but now like RFK Jr., who has always talked about that kind of stuff, now he's like Team Trump, and so now it's like, oh, they might actually go after this, like, because Trump was talking to Theo Von about like banning. I forget which way I guess banning anybody who's worked in government, like not just elected officials, but who's worked in government from becoming a lobbyist. And, you know, I get, yeah, it's I get squirrely about laws that stop people from doing things, like limiting freedom. But this corruption is gross, you know, and you definitely shouldn't be able to hop back and forth. And I mean, you really shouldn't be able to work for a company that you just passed all the, you know, and like really, you should eliminate these agencies, and it's not a problem, is the actual solution. But without that, you know, I guess, you know, if we're not going to do that, which we should, then it's not the worst idea. It's like, let's smash some of these piggy banks. So there's that. It would also be fun. What agency do you want to see RFK Jr. the head of?
The CIA.
and that's where I don't know. Will he either be like, you know, the change for good, like you killed my uncle and my pops probably, and you know, you've done all this other horrible stuff. Like, I'm taking you down, slashing your budget, doing this, doing that. Or when you get the ring of power, do you become the most corrupt, the most evil golem to ever run it, you know? Like, get all those threats aiming at you. It's like, but think of the power you have, Bobby. Think of the power.
And he might keep the files sealed on his uncle, too.
Maybe. I mean,
they're just waiting for the boomers to die off, though.
That's what they say. Everyone's already dead. Like, they're just, I don't know. They're not showing it because at least the CIA and probably the FBI, or maybe the other way around, at least the FBI, maybe the CIA. Either way, like, our government killed our president, you know, and then his brother, you know. But they tried indicting my grandfather. Sometimes stuff just happens, Charlie. All right, so that's a pretty big addition. So even like with his waning support post Kamala Harris, 5 points, right? Now let's say if he does, let's say all the polling's right, he affects Trump's support more than Kamala's, and say that 3 out of 5 of them go to Trump. Well, that's huge. I mean, that's a huge jump. Now, if those 3 go to Chase Oliver, all 5 go to Chase Oliver, well, then pretty much stays status quo, you know. But I imagine at least some of them saying like, well, RFK is going to have a spot in the administration. He's officially part of the transition team, along with the Trump boys and JD Vance. So I don't know. I imagine some have to come over, because especially if I know there were some people in the Liberty Twitter sphere that decided they're going to support RFK Jr. solely because of like health freedom stuff. So if your one issue is health freedom, and he's like, hey, we're doing it over in this camp, I guess you got to move your vote over there, you know?
Yeah, especially if you gave him money.
Yeah. Here, speaking of Chase Oliver, he kind of responded to it. We don't necessarily have to cut over. I'll just read it. Chase Oliver says, by leaving the ballot in some states and staying on in others, RFK Jr. is showing he lacks the seriousness to be president. You're either running or you aren't, says Oliver, 39. By removing himself from the most competitive state ballots, RFK Jr. is effectively saying he doesn't want the job he's running for. I do want the job. Now, Chase Oliver has done a little bit of, instead of running against Trump and Harris, which he definitely criticizes them, but like he focuses on RFK a lot. I think he really wants to finish above him was a big goal. And so this kind of is going that way too. And so what RFK is doing is, and I think it's true to say that he does not actually want to be, he's not running for president anymore. But he only pulled out of this, or suspended his campaign in states where that were important to Trump, you know? So if there's a state where he's not really affecting Trump at all, he didn't suspend his campaign. So he'll still be on the ballot, and some of these things. So if he's hurting Kamala in this state, he's there. If he's hurting Trump in this state, he's suspended, which is just chess. I mean, it's just good strategy. Like he's endorsed Trump. That's what. But
I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't either. I thought if it was federal like that, you suspend the whole thing. But I guess technically the elections are run by the state, so you do have to register in each state. You have to qualify in each state, which is another game they do to keep the little guys off the ballot. If you're a Republican in Tennessee, I think you have to get something like 500 signatures. If you're a Libertarian or any third party, you have to get something like 50,000 signatures.
Wow.
Or something crazy. It's a huge amount. I forget the exact number, but it's grossly different, But the suspension thing is really probably more about financial issues. When you suspend a campaign, you just keep filing your forms, and you can hold on that money and do something with it at some point. You can donate it to a candidate. You got things you can do, because one campaign can donate. There's no max on what you can donate to another campaign. And so then also, I don't know, it just stays open. It's a checking account. You don't have to close your account. You don't have to give the money back. You don't have to do, you don't have to do anything. Whereas if you shut it down, that's a different ball of wax, So most people, when they drop out, they just suspend their campaign. So that's not actually that unusual. All right. And then the other big announcement was old Tulsi. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, she helped coach up Trump before the first debate with Biden. Not that he needed any coaching, because Biden forgot to show up and forgot who he was and where he was and how to potty. So let's see.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Man, I heard on I just heard a radio teaser. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I think I heard it, that Biden on his way to his next vacation, because he's he just got back from vacation, so now he's heading to vacation. But he said when he returns, he will campaign for or against Kamala, whatever she wants. Which I wanted to find it just because that is so telling. Because it's Joe's being silly, whatever helps, against her, for whatever she wants. It's like, silly Joe, so supportive, but also it kind of sounds like a bitterness. It's like, what, I'm for you, I'm against you, like you for me, It's like, which way, who's stabbing who? How does this game work? I don't even know. Just whatever you want, I'll do it. I guess I don't have a choice, do I? All right. Former Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard has endorsed Donald Trump's presidential bid, furthering her shift away from the party she sought to represent 4 years ago, and linking herself to the GOP nominee's critiques of Kamala Harris and the chaotic Afghanistan war withdrawal. Appearing with Trump in Detroit, Gabbard, a National Guard veteran who served 2 tours of duty in the Middle East before representing Hawaii in the U.S. House, said the GOP nominee understands the grave responsibility that a president and commander-in-chief bears for every single one of our lives. Here, there's, they showed up at the anniversary of, what was it? 3rd anniversary of the August 26, 2021 suicide bombing at Hamid Karzai International Airport, which killed 13 service members, basically the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. And then we've got a little thing of her talking so she can kind of say on her own what the... Yeah, okay. Bloop. Bloop. All right, you ready, Chuckles?
Ready.
Ready, Freddy. Apparently she's 44 years old.
Because I am confident that his first task will be to do the work to walk us back from the brink of war.
Similar thing.
We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat.
True that.
Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president.
Yep.
President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target.
Real quick. We were looking at this the other day. See in the background, Arkansas's flag. Oops. I swear it's never happened. Don't go limp like that. In the background, you can see Arkansas's flag. It's just red, and it's a white diamond in the middle that says Arkansas in block font. Nothing.
It's just Arkansas.
I mean, there's stars in there, but they're like, it's like, what should we put on our flag? I guess put our name on it. Arkansas. All right, that's neither here nor there. Anyway.
Added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about
Did
what
you hear about
kind
that?
of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future.
Yeah, we're cheering for her. Come on.
I am proud to stand here before you today, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent.
Spaghetti
If
monster.
you love our country, as I do, if you cherish peace and freedom as we do, I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save our country and elect President Donald J. Trump and send him back to the White House to do the tough work of saving our country and serving the people.
All right. So, similar things, concern about war looming, concern about an over authoritarian government. Did we talk about on this on here about what happened with Tulsi getting put on the list?
I don't remember.
She got put on. It's not a no-fly list, but it's a kind of a secret travel security list where if you're going to fly, a number of both uniformed and plainclothes security people are aware that you're coming to the airport, and they follow you throughout the airport. They just keep eyes on you the whole time. It's basically a potential terrorist kind of threat. So her and her husband are both on this list as kind of potential terrorists. And of course, she's like a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard, and has been been deployed overseas twice. And like I know that in some of it, she's gotten a little special. I'm a congresswoman or former congresswoman. You get a little cushy role or whatever, but you're still serving. Like sometimes officers have a little cushier than others. But yeah, so she's like active duty National Guard and a former congresswoman, and on this like list of being a potential terrorist. And it didn't happen under the last administration. It happened sometime in this administration. And Kamala Harris, something happened to her when she was running for president last time. Oh yeah, Tulsi just eviscerated her. And so it is kind of interesting that she gets eviscerated by Tulsi and then gets in the White House, and now Tulsi's a terrorist. Oh, terrorist Tulsi. So this is another kind of weird. She helped with the campaign prep. We already knew she didn't like Kamala Harris, Officer Harris, for very valid reasons that she laid out in that debate. Because she is a corrupt little tyrant that locks up innocent people for cheap labor and will lock you up for possession of marijuana and then go on a radio program and laugh about smoking marijuana and say she did it while listening to Tupac, who had not recorded one single song at that point in his life. Because that's just how time lines up.
I remember that.
Yeah. It was Tupac. It's like, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, he was probably still in his contemporary dance class at that point. But so there's, of course, it's being billed as a unity ticket, which that's smart billing. But it is very interesting. You got RFK Jr., who, he's Bobby Kennedy Jr., lifelong Democrat, until the Democrats started really screwing him. He was an independent, but of course now he's on Team he's on Team Trump. And then Tulsi. And Tulsi has been, she has been a good voice over these last however many years. She cares about censorship. and government corruption. She does not like wars. And she's been very, I'd say, even-handed. She's fine to be critical of the Democrats and of the Republicans. I mean, she's been a Democrat. She probably still is a Democrat. I don't know. She might have taken that away once she ended up on that list or something. But
Trump's a Democrat, too.
he was at some point.
Technically, I mean.
Yeah, he was a Democrat. He was a Republican. Democrat, Republican. He was the, what was that other party? He was the Reform Party.
Oh, yeah.
And then they nominated David Duke, and he's like, well, I got to go. Just the right call. Yeah, I was telling the old studio manager right after Trump got elected. I was like, Trump is going to be more like Bill Clinton. He's going to be like Ted Cruz. I mean, he's been a Democrat for as many or more years as a Republican, So, like, if you're a Democrat in fear, like, he's just not an ultra conservative fella, And then this is neither here nor there, but RFK Jr. posted this picture of Tulsi. And he said, Wonder Woman has joined the Justice League, right? And so this is the picture. Are we up here? So here's the picture that he said, Wonder Woman has joined the Justice League. Okay. And actually, give me my thing back. Because I saw that, and at first I was like, I don't understand why he's got a picture of Gal Gadot up. And look, Gal. Okay, now she's got professional makeup on and stuff, and she's very pretty. But look how close they are in appearance. It's just, that's crazy. That's crazy. Good looking ladies. I guess that's what I'm saying. All right,
It's the Matrix.
It's the Matrix. Yeah, I don't need Gal staring at me. I'm a married man. Keep it in your pants, lady. All right, so that on the Trump side of things, that has been the excitement of this week. So as you can imagine, the Democrats, who are fighting desperately to save democracy. Why are you laughing, Charlie?
It's very hard to keep that in.
Like I was trying to say, the most important thing is that everyone has a vote and they can choose who they want to vote for, right? Vote for the Democrats is a vote for democracy, saving the principles our country was founded on. You get to choose who you can vote for, right? And so, I mean, not RFK Jr., of course. Like, you don't get to vote for him. Not as a Democrat, because Biden's the incumbent, and Biden's going to be president for the Democrats. And like, as an incumbent, we're not going to allow a challenger. But that's because Biden's running for president. And then when he wasn't, they just named Kamala because democracy. So that was the move for democracy, because every vote counts. So then, now we've got the Green Party. Jill Stein. Now, Jill Stein pulled some votes away from old Hill Dog 8 years ago or whatever. And so she took some heat for Trump's victory. So, of course, an employee of the Democratic National Committee filed a complaint Wednesday seeking to remove the Green Party's presidential candidate from the ballot in Wisconsin, arguing that the party is ineligible. So this was August 14th. So a couple days before that, the DNC filed to get the Green Party off the ballot. Let me see. So here for Wisconsin, the Green Party's appearance on the presidential ballot could make a difference in the swing state of Wisconsin, where 4 of the past 6 presidential elections have been decided by between 5,700 votes and 23,000 votes. Jill Stein is expected to be the nominee. All right, let's jump to the next tab real quick here. I need to. Oops. Okay. So she won, though. So August 26th, Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein will remain on the ballot in the crucial swing state of Wisconsin after the state Supreme Court decided on Monday not to even hear a Democrat challenge seeking to oust her. They decided against hearing the challenge brought by David Strange. That's one of my favorite things about some of these people for the DNC. You got David Strange. You got the dude named Wiener that wants to pass different laws about like trans stuff, like trans kids stuff. It's like, hey, get ready for Wiener. Vote for Wiener. Anyway, So the court did not explain the reasoning for not hearing it. We determined that the petitioner is not entitled to the relief he seeks. So Strange argued that the Green Party can't nominate presidential electors in Wisconsin because the party does not have any state office holders or legislative candidates authorized to nominate presidential electors. So every state has different rules about how you qualify. You know, some states, if you get over so many votes in some election, then you're automatically on the ballot the next election. Some are if you have congressional candidates that run in enough districts or what have you, then you're automatically on for presidential or for governor or for whatever. And so they all got these stupid rules. So I don't know the rules of Wisconsin, but old Strange says that they don't qualify. And a judge was just like, I'm not even listening to you, which I think is the right call. I think quite frankly, I don't care what the reason is. Like, just if they pay the fee, they just let people on the damn ballot. Like, if these barriers to entry have gotten ridiculous and much worse after Ross Perot. Ross Perot he affected George H.W. Bush so bad that it just scared the Democrats and Republicans to the point like they're just like, we can't let just somebody hop in anytime they want and run because they have ideas and thoughts. That's dangerous. So the Democrat Party for Democracy said, Jill Stein, you can't run in Wisconsin, but they were thwarted. And they said, Jill Stein can run in Wisconsin. So that's good. Not for the Democrat. I mean, so democracy took a hit there, obviously. Because now you have a potential to vote for Jill Stein if you're in Wisconsin, which is not good for democracy. All right. We don't need to hop to this one real quick, but then there's Cornel West. He's running too. And he lost his legal challenge on Friday in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro's Secretary of the State rejected West's paperwork. They said they lacked the required affidavits for 14 of West's 19 presidential electors. Basically, Pennsylvania has a weird rule where you have to, what does it say? Your electors have to be treated like an actual candidate or something in order to qualify. And so West's lawyer, who has long-standing ties to Republican candidates' causes, did not immediately say whether he would appeal to the Supreme Court or not. I guess it probably depends on how much campaign cash they got. But basically, Josh Shapiro, who we were just talking about, Democratic star, Cornel West does not draw any votes away from Donald Trump, if you can imagine. He's also known to be a little anti-Semitic here and there. And so the golden boy for the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania, Shapiro, goes, I don't know if you did your paperwork right. I guess you're not on the ballot. This was August 23rd, so we'll see if he's got enough cash to appeal to the Supreme Court and it stands. But West is now off the ballot in Pennsylvania in the name of preserving democracy. And then the DNC also sued to challenge that he can't be on in Wisconsin either. So that one they took to court and successfully defeated the challenge from the DNC and are officially certified on the ballot in Wisconsin. So now 3 candidates DNC has been fighting to keep off of ballots in at least 2 different states, probably more than that, because democracy. And don't get me wrong, I don't think the GOP would be sticking up for the Green Party or Cornel West if they were pulling votes from the GOP. And, I will say the GOP doesn't seem to be trying. I mean, they didn't try to pull RFK off of anything or try to pull Chase Oliver off of anything this election. Now, granted, debate rules, that's someplace they could have been like, hey, let's get RFK on the stage. Let's get Chase Oliver on the stage. They're not doing that. So, I mean, it's not like they're totally being pro every voice should be heard, But it's very interesting as Democrats are talking about how confident they are about how Kamala is going to win this. Kamala and Walz are just strong, and Trump is scared and doesn't want to even debate her, just scared. And yet they're trying to kick people off of ballots in swing states because they're so confident.
I just thinking about the fact that everyone's just blindly just supporting Kamala.
Just repeating the lines is what gets me. Rachel had a patient that the other day that was like, I don't really like to get political or anything, but it's so nice to see, the DNC convention, how everyone's just like, they're just happy and like, they just care about the good of the country. Maybe she's talking about Biden. Thinking Biden, you can just tell he just cares about the country. He just wants to do what's right. And he just cares and all that. And it's just like, okay.
Drank way too much of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I don't even think she was on any drugs. I think it was, and so, it's just like, cool. That sounds cool. Just repeat all the stuff that they've been saying on the TV over and over again. Yeah, it is fairly amazing how it goes down. This is not in my little stack here, but did you see Zuckerberg's letter to Congress? I forget. I think it's to what's his face out of Ohio, the wrestler guy.
Jesse?
No, I bet. No, not studio wrestler. The Jim Jordan, who's like a wrestling coach or something.
Okay.
There's some rumor that there's something like homoerotic in the locker room or something. He's denied it. I don't know. He's like a high school wrestling coach at some point. Anyway, but Zuckerberg wrote a letter saying, because I think there was questions, but he said that basically, he got lots of pressure from the Biden White House about COVID during the COVID times and about taking stuff down, even satire and jokes, and that, if they disagreed, they got lots of grief from the White House and the FBI and all that stuff. And so, ultimately he stands by all the decisions that they made because they were his decisions. So he's taking responsibility that we did make the decisions after all. But I think that this pressure from the White House was not right. And then he goes on to say that he donated a lot of money last election, and it was for what he was donating to, in his words, was for all the local polling places and local elections to have enough resources to put on an election during COVID times. Although he didn't say this specifically, but everyone said, look how much he gave to the Democrats, which, let's be fair, he gave a lot to the Democrats. And so he's like, even though that's not what I was doing last time, whether it was or not, he's like, I'm not donating this time. I'm just not getting involved. But he also talked about how he got all the pressure from the FBI about a fake Russian story to swing the election about Hunter's laptop, and how now that's showing that that's not fake, and he's regretting. He's talking about how he's upset or generally not happy about killing the Hunter laptop story, and which you could have just not killed it. But
I was gonna say 3 and 4 years later, dude, like a little late.
I think he's getting radicalized by jiu-jitsu. He's been doing like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I think it's made him stop thinking like a little nerd sissy.
Cool.
Yeah, he's like a blue belt, or he's like
I've seen pictures of him.
Yeah, or he might be purple. I don't know, but I think blue. Solid. But anyway, he's just not like he surfs and he does jiu-jitsu, and I think he's just beginning to like. One thing that's really nice about I don't know about how it works with boxing and stuff like that. I imagine it's something comparable. But with jiu-jitsu, the one thing that's nice is when you spend so much time sparring, rolling, fighting. You are less prone to being concerned about conflict. You don't want to pick a fight. You're not as concerned about a fight coming because you're like, well, I do this often, and so it's a peaceful kind of centering sort of feeling. and a level of confidence and all that I imagine if you're a skinny little nerd who programmed a website forever ago, became a billionaire, stayed a skinny little nerd, you're probably a little bit of, and he's also probably somewhere on the robot spectrum there, but you're probably a little bit scared. You're probably a little bit of a sissy. I mean, not trying to be judgmental, but like, you know, if one person pushed you, I don't think you'd feel safe, you know?
I mean, he's building a multi-million-dollar bunker, so dude definitely doesn't feel safe.
Right. Well, there's that too. I mean, I don't feel safe against the nukes, and I don't know if I want to come out of that bunker and see what's left. I mean, I probably will go down fighting. Come out and be like, I did it! And it's like, now I'm starving to death. That's why you gotta keep a couple bullets just in case, you know? But now, so I do wonder if part of this is like the more that he's feeling confident in himself, the more that he's just saying, you know what? I don't need this. Like my worth is greater than most countries, you know, like I'm one of the wealthiest humans. I'm super powerful with what I can do with my platforms that I built and I purchased. And like, I don't actually need to get pushed around. I could do I'm not going to do the pushing, but I could, you know. We'll see if the censorship stuff kind of lays off a little bit because it's still been gnarly. But I do wonder if that's part of it.
Hopefully he doesn't get suicided.
There's always that. The Telegram guy just got arrested in France. And, like, who knows if he gets suicided. And, like, he, he's being booked for basically like espionage. And they're trying to throw, like, kitty, or I guess we're not supposed to say that word, CP. And so, you know, basically anything that happened on Telegram that they can prove happened on it, they're giving him a charge for it, basically, is facilitating it. And one of the charges is having encryption that basically you didn't give government access to. Which is like, yeah, that's kind of the point of encryption. But hopefully that guy gets out before he goes all Epstein. All right, one last thing that the Democrats are doing in the name of democracy. From the Blaze, Arizona's Governor Hobbs unlawfully changed election rules. So this is Arizona. So we've talked about Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and now Arizona. And Pennsylvania and Michigan, like if Trump takes Pennsylvania and Michigan, it's over. Like it's just over. But with either one of those, and like Nevada or Arizona or something like that, like it's if he gets one of those, it is tough sledding. Like you really have to, as Kamala, you got to run the table on a lot of the other stuff, you know? So anyway, Republican Party of Arizona filed a lawsuit against the governor, Katie Hobbs, for two of her executive orders unlawfully and unilaterally altering the state's existing election laws. So basically they're saying she doesn't have this authority because it's supposed to go through the House and all that. But what they do is Executive Order 23 designated the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections and the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry, so prison and juvie, as well as other state-run agencies as ballot drop-off locations. It's also, and then Order 25 designated them as voter registration assistance agencies that are to distribute voter registration forms, assist applicants in completing voter registration forms, and accept completed voter registration forms, which these two things together reads to me as go into the prison, register them to vote if they haven't voted, and then get them to vote and get the ballot for them while they're in prison. Because if you put the collection places at the prisons, you can get them to vote. Now, most people in prisons are felons. And, you know, I think you don't have your voting rights. I think that's all states. Once you serve your time, you should definitely get it back. But who knows? You know, there's always the stuff about, illegals voting, which to whatever degree that's true. But, if you go to just the jails, the county jails, you could just have misdemeanors out the butt, and you can still vote. And juvie, you're supposed to get out when you're 18, but maybe there's a little rollover in there. But it's just a weird place to be like, hey, let's register and maybe get them right when they're coming out of juvie. You're 18 now, kid. Guess what? You're not a felon because it was juvie. Why don't you vote? Register here and then just drop off your ballot right here. It's like, you want to leave now? or do you want to leave in 6 hours?
Right.
Probably should vote. So, in the name of saving democracy, they are trying to help prisons vote or something in Arizona, but changing the rules without going through the actual legislation or legislature. In Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, they're actively suing to keep candidates off the ballot who have been running for months and literally just want to have a chance to be voted for, because it saves democracy. So on the Trump side of it, he's collecting prominent Democrats who are supporting him, which could be interesting. And do you remember the term Reagan Democrats?
Yep.
Like when he in '84, when he just swept everything, the big thing was, oh, Reagan Democrats, because they were like, well, he's all right, he's not too wacky, he's all right. And so like it seems like Trump's definitely trying to build that sort of thing, so that maybe you give people, because societal pressure and all that, saying you support Trump, people, you racist, do you hate immigrants, do you hate the gays, do you hate this kind of thing. So, a lot of Trump people, they only go two directions. You got like Trump people, and they got the shirt on and the flags and the, FJB stickers.
All the accessories.
All the accessories, So you got that chunk of them, and they, like the MAGA people are mega MAGAs. Mega. But outside of the mega MAGAs, you have like Republican and like Republican-leaning independents that maybe are going to vote for him, but they're not like crazy about all the MAGA stuff. Maybe they got some disagreements with stuff here and there. Perhaps they don't like tariffs, which no one should like tariffs. But anyway, but that group, a lot of them are going to politely not say anything. A lot of independents who are like, I'm not doing Biden now. They're like, I'm not doing Harris either. Like a lot of them probably just won't talk about it. They'll just go vote.
I hope he does something for me.
Yeah, it's like, look, I hate these people suck. I'm gonna go for that guy this time. But now it kind of frees you up in that social pressure kind of thing to say, well, I was an RFK guy, an independent, but now I guess this RFK, is going to be part of the Trump administration. I'm going to vote for Trump, but really it's not because of him, it's because of RFK. Now that Tulsi's going to be part of the administration, Secretary of Defense, maybe, who knows? Should be, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, put her in charge of the CIA. I don't care.
I never thought about the psychological side of it, though, like making it easy to be okay with voting for that side now.
Well, because if it's not socially repugnant, if you can talk about, then suddenly other, I don't want to call them low information, but casual, non people that don't follow it real close, they got other stuff to do. They're going to vote, but maybe they get most of their news from just late night shows, what they overhear on the radio, and just, whatever casually enters their space, but they're not seeking it out. They're going to talk to their friends, that kind of thing.
Decide the night before.
To a degree, but, they're going to decide it through conversation with their friends. They're going to decide it, that'll be a big part of it, and there'll be whatever filters in. So, if it's, maybe stand up, maybe late night shows, maybe they probably don't even watch the news, maybe stuff that comes on the radio. But with that, if all of a sudden your friends are going like, well, RFK jumped on, and I really liked RFK Jr., so I'm going to vote Trump. And now you got a couple people saying that, and you go, oh, okay. And I did kind of like whatever, even well, my money was better those 4 years than now, but I thought he was a racist or something, but I don't know. He's not a racist, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It opens up word of mouth to a degree. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I'll tell you this much though. If Trump wins in the swing states by 3 to 5 points in each one of them, and you're the leaders of the DNC, you should quit your jobs.
Goodbye.
Yeah, they're not going to, of course, but it's like you treated the nephew of JFK, the son of RFK, who carries his name and legacy, you treated him like a bum, and then like neglected and abused him to the point of him leaving the party. And then you kept pushing him until he joined with the other guy. And then he helped beat you. Like, that takes some self-reflection, I would say. I don't know if I really need to say this. There are a couple polls. We don't need to show those. A couple polls that have come out that show the convention buzz. There's pretty much no difference. Some of them, Harris up in some, Trump's up in some. When you go into the swing states, it's still pretty tied in a lot of places. Even when it shows one of them up, a lot of times it's by the margin of error. The newest one, which is a national poll, one of the newest ones, that's a national poll. It's Trump. I think it's this one. Harris +4. Oh, wait, that's not it. Oh, dang. There was one where I was looking at it, and like the newest poll was something where Harris was up by some number, but the margin of error was twice that number. And you're like, first of all, that's a crappy poll when your margin of error is in like 6 or something,
Right.
But yeah, so it's just none of these are that conclusive. I stand by what I said last time, which is because I check in, like weekly, and I look at what the averages looked like in 2020 and 2016. And then, of course, what the results were in 2020 and 2016 for each state. And, I mean, in all of them, Trump always overperforms the polls by anywhere from, like I said, anywhere 3 or 4 up to, there's some way outperformed by like 13 points or something like that. And so when you see a bunch of stuff where it's, a lot of them are averaging out to Trump, +1 or 2, some of them are Harris +1 or 2. But when you're seeing all these things where it's +1 or 2, margin of errors, and they're, basically 2. And then you go, well, if Trump is always outperforming these polls by 3 to 12 points, then like showing a tie or showing a +2 Trump seems to speak very well to his chances of winning this. And I'm just like the map is a crazy one. Like if Pennsylvania and Michigan go, it's done. That's it. Like that's it. Pennsylvania, Michigan, because like Georgia's going to go Trump. Florida's going to go Trump. Nevada's looking strong. Arizona's looking strong Trump, but they could, Arizona could switch. Who knows? Nevada could switch. Who knows? But those are such small electoral counts that like you lose them both, and you could lose North Carolina. But if you got Michigan, and you can lose Wisconsin, but if you got Michigan and Pennsylvania, that's it. I'd spend so much time in those 2 states, and then like Wisconsin. Wisconsin's in play, but like I don't know. This is. Anything could happen. We have one debate theoretically that's going to happen. Kamala Harris wants them to stay seated for it and have the mics on. What? Okay. So their next debate is on ABC, I think.
Oh boy.
And so they agreed to have the same rules as the Biden-Trump debate, right? Okay. Which was mics were quiet when it's not your turn. No notes. You just stand there and talk. And so recently Kamala Harris was like, well, I think we should be seated. And I think the mic should stay hot the whole time. And I should be able to have some notes. The Trump campaign's like, no, definitely no notes. And like, we already agreed to the terms. And so now they're kind of, the Harris people are like, oh, Trump is terrified of having a hot mic. He's afraid of what he's going to do. So he's afraid to debate her. He's afraid he needs his mic shut off so he doesn't do something stupid.
They want him to have a hot mic? I feel like that would be a negative for them.
It all depends. I think you're right well, it could go different ways. So against Biden, not having the hot mic definitely helps him because the first debate he did with Biden in the last election, he kept interrupting and bullying him, and he came off as a jerk and like lost a lot of support. The next time he did better. This one, he was just quiet and let Biden just and so to a degree, let Kamala speak in platitudes and blah, 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 blah.
He'll do his smirks the whole time.
Yeah. But And it could help, like, if he has clever zingers, like, you know, because his counter punch can be a good one. But if he overdoes it and comes off as a bully again, this time bullying a woman of color.
They're trying to trap him. Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's a thought, is that what she wants to do is trap him into losing his cool to come off as, you know, an irrational bully. And so that's the play now. So now, once again, they're saying he's afraid to debate her. His camp is like, we already agreed on the rules. Like, what are we doing here? And like Trump the other day goes, you know, he's like, mic's on, mic's off. I don't care, but we already agreed, you know? I mean, being seated sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's a weird debate.
I would not like that if I was up on it, like,
It's
seated.
a conversation.
And like, I did a town hall style thing with like Amanda Mackey and a couple other people, and we were seated for that. And it was fine, but it was like not a debate, you know. I kind of turned it into a little bit of a y'all are all wrong and I'm right kind of thing, but you know, I got to make my mark. But it was weird, and like, I don't know, standing, just, you got, you know, your juices are flowing, you're doing good. And like, I wouldn't even want to watch it sitting down. It's like, ugh, okay. I don't even like it when they do the town hall thing where like one talks and has to stand in the back or sit down. Like, I don't know. That's awkward. Remember the Hillary Clinton one though, where like Trump's just looming behind her the whole time. That was pretty funny. Yeah, this season's going great. Now that RFK lost his Secret Service protection, I hope everything stays well over there, because there's been a couple other people that they have arrested that have had some designs on Donald Trump's head. So, you know, I hope that part of the drama is over for this, for all sides. You know, I don't want anybody popping shots at anybody. Let's just let these fools go out there and do their thing, and I don't know, just have fun with it. You want to leave the people with anything for this week?
I have nothing. Well, I'm just looking. I mean, we're getting closer, so I'm looking forward to this.
Closer. All right, yeah. So follow us, set alerts, all that kind of stuff. If you're listeners, think about checking us out on the videos. You can see all of our pictures and our beautiful faces. You'd be shocked by how pretty we are. A lot more people like to listen. I listen to more podcasts more than I watch them too, to be honest, though, including ours. My audio check it. I hardly ever do it on YouTube. All right. Anyway, until next week, goodbye.